Trade deadline update, fantasy players, college players to watch, and more. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Empire State Sports Report. I'm your host, Adrianna, also known as New York Giants fangirl across social media. The podcast is brought to you by Believe Network and FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook is the number one place to make all of your sports bets, whether you're a huge NFL fan like myself, MLB, college, you name it. FanDuel Sportsbook has it. Download the app to reap all of the benefits and make sure to always bet responsibly. All right, guys, let's start with the trade deadline because the Giants did a whole lot of nothing. And look, I actually don't think that it's that bad of an idea. Would I have liked a wide receiver? Absolutely. But here's what the Giants were not in a position to do. Give away a fourth and either fifth or sixth round pick for someone like Jacoby Myers, whose contract is ending at the end of this year. Yes, we need to develop Jackson Dart. Yes, he needs help from someone who's going to catch the ball when he throws it to them. But the reality is we only have 7 draft picks next year and we need a lot of help. And I just don't think that giving up picks for someone for half a year when you're not competing for the playoffs or the division or anything is a gigantic waste. So I'm glad that the Giants didn't go ahead and do that. Now, what I did want them to do is try to pawn off either Evan Neal, Tay Banks, or Jalen Hyatt to literally anyone. Obviously, that didn't work out from what I understand, according to Josina Anderson, about a week and a half ago. The Giants and the Raiders were in conversation about trading Evan Neal. But clearly that did not work out. From what I understand too, Joe Schoen was on the phones. He was trying to make moves. And obviously trading is a two-way street. You have to have a partner on the other side who is willing to be invested and make the trade with you. So obviously that didn't work out. I am glad that they did not trade away someone like Kayvon Thibodeau. We know that this front office right now really values the edge position, and they have a very, very big focus on positional value, which is one of the reasons why the Giants are in the position that they're in, because they focus so much positional value on certain positions and not enough on others. And they have a horrible coaching staff. So it's all intertwined. We all know this, but so I think obviously there's some disappointment there, but I also think you have to look at it from both sides and say that's the most rational decision. What I do think the Giants should do to help out Jackson Dart for the rest of the season at this point, because it's the only thing that matters, is bring in someone like Isaiah Hodgins. He's still on the 49ers practice squad. And the fact that the Niners have a million injuries and he has not been elevated means it's pretty likely he doesn't really have a future there, at least for the rest of this year. Ricky Pearsall has not been active, and he's probably going to be back this week. So I just think that the Giants should go after him. They obviously love him. He followed Dable from the Bills to the Giants. They signed him to a multi-year deal. He immediately came in and was helpful for Daniel Jones in the middle of the season. And I think that he could do the same thing for Jackson Dart. He already knows the system. He's going to know where to be at the right time. And he doesn't have the drop problems or the route running issues that some of these other wide receivers on this team have right now. So he's cheap. He's easy to get. You don't have to trade away assets, and you don't have to worry about a long-term deal if you don't want to keep him. So I think that makes the most sense. And I think, again, at this point, you're out of the division. You're out of the playoffs. Half the fans don't care what is even happening. Half of the stadium is 49ers fans. Wait till the Packers come to town. I mean, you thought the Niners was bad? Woo! It's going to get worse. Cowboys game, like it's just going to be ugly at home games for the rest of the season. And that's unfortunate, but you have to, as the GM and the coach, you have to care about moving this team forward. And that is at the quarterback position. That's the only thing that matters. So anyway, that's what I would like them to do. And I think because they didn't do anything at the trade deadline, that's the only thing that they should be doing because it's cheap and they can do it. So I'd like to see them do that over the next week or so. Now, Art Stapleton said that they did have some players in for workouts on Tuesday. So they had tight end JJ Galbraith, linebacker Jaden McDonald, tight end Nick Muse, tight end Cole Turner, and tackle Lakin Vakalahi. I am so sorry. I definitely butchered that. Not a single wide receiver. So I don't think they're signing any of these players. There's been no roster moves since then, but I just wanted to call it out in case anyone is familiar with any of those players. I am not. I think it's interesting that they brought in 3 tight ends. Imagine what we could do with Greg Dulcich right now if he was able to stay on the practice squad. Story for another day. But also, with that being said, in regards to the injuries, because we don't get the injury report until later today, but we need to talk about the injury updates, because with that all happening, the guys that they brought in, I am a little concerned that Daniel Bellinger is not going to be back on Sunday. And I'm sorry, you cannot rely on Theo Johnson. He is a frustrating player, much like Darius Slayton. And again, someone help out your rookie quarterback. So we're going to get answers on these players, but it's not looking great for Bellinger, Adebo, and potentially John Michael Schmitz for this Sunday. But we should get some good news about Illuminor Flott and Javon Holland. And again, I know we're all at the point where we're like, we probably don't think we're winning any more games at this point, but I would like to watch a game where we're not just getting absolutely cooked. For the sake of the people and the players that are on this team who actually give a shit about winning and who are working their asses off day in and day out, for their sake, I would like them to have a chance at winning the game. So having Flott back and obviously having Holland back is going to make a big difference to this secondary. So, I'm excited to get those guys back. And, for someone like Brian Burns, for someone like Jackson Jar, who's out there working their asses off, like someone try and win football games, because God knows it's not the fucking coaching. So anyway, the last thing that I want to say is that Paul Schwartz, who works for the Post, which do not get me started on that absolute trash can website and newspaper. But anyway, Paul, who's been there and been with the Giants forever, wrote an article saying that essentially we should be prepared that they are going to keep Joe Shane and they're only going to fire Dable, Bowen, and no update on Kafka, because we all know that Bowen is not going to be here come January 5th. So the concern, there's a big concern that I have with that. And the problem is not so much keeping Joe Shane. Like, I think that obviously is a problem, but the bigger problem that I have is that I am worried that the organization is allowing John Mara's illness to control the types of decisions that they make. And this is what I mean by that is I think if John Mara was not sick, we might not be having this conversation. And I could be 100% wrong about that. We heard this last year that they were considering splitting them up, but ultimately didn't. And Joe Shane is going to go in there and say, look, I fixed the cap. I brought in these players. The reason why they're not good is because of the coaching. But I think that can only get you so far, because you've gone multiple trade deadlines where you have done nothing and you've let players walk out of the building only to find out that, oh my God, maybe you should have kept Xavier McKinney because our safeties are a nightmare. So then you have to fix your mistake by going and paying Javon Holland. You traded up for a guy like Tay Banks, who not only sucks, he only fits one type of scheme, and that coordinator is no longer here. You paid Daniel Jones, you let Saquon walk, which some of these things I don't have a problem with, but I know there are a lot of fans that are going to say, this is why I want Joe Shane gone, and you have to include it in the totality of his work. He picked a lot of draft picks that suck, quite frankly. He also has picked a lot of draft picks who have not contributed, who have not grown, have not improved. It's taken, I don't know, Kayvon has been mostly good. He has not lived up to being the 5th overall pick, but he's in year 4, he's playing better than he was the last year or two. And same thing with Cordell Flott and Daniel Bellinger. But it's like, why is it taking these guys so far to get there? I think part of that is the coaching for sure. But I just think you have to look at the totality of what Joe Shane has done. He is going to say, well, I had a really good 2024 and 2025 draft class. Okay, that's what you said last year about the 2024 class. Guess what? That class is not good this year. Tyler Nubin, shell of himself. Drew Phillips, hit or miss, has a shitload of penalties. Who else was in that class? Theo Johnson cannot catch the ball. He might have touchdowns, but he can't catch anything else. And who knows how many more points he would have scored and potentially more games he would have won if he could catch the ball. You re-signed Darius Slayton. So I'm just concerned that they're going to say, well, firing the GM is a much bigger undertaking than just firing the coaching staff. And, Joe Shane updated our process and brought us into the 21st century and got us cap healthy and picked our quarterback and whatever. And again, those are fair points to make, but he's been here for 4 years, and you can't just say, well, he did 3 good things and he traded for Brian Burns and ignore everything else that he did that was bad, which is, finally investing in our secondary, not investing in defensive tackles, and then finally having to bring in Nacho. You don't re-sign Ashawn Robinson, who they should have. Like, the list goes on. We don't even have time to go through it all right now, but maybe maybe during the bye week or something, I'll go through every move that Joe Shane made and we can really talk about whether or not the Giants should actually keep him. But I'm just concerned that they're going to use and I don't want to say it's an excuse, but the explanation of, I don't actually think they'll admit this to us. But anyway, I think that with John Mara going through everything that he's going through, that's what they're going to do. And that is the wrong decision. And this is the problem that I have with how this organization runs. And we can talk about the nepotism, we could talk about stuff like that. But the reality is, when you have a family run business and you are wealthy, nepotism is part of the game. It's for the NFL and then some. It happens literally everywhere. Everyone knows this, okay? There's a reason Nepo baby is a term. So it's not just the Maras who do this. It's literally every organization in football and a shitload of other companies in the world. So the problem that I have is that they think that they don't need any help. And when you have made bad decision after bad decision year after year after year, you do need help. They had to have the NFL step in order for them to hire Ernie Accorsi because they were fucking it up so bad. Guess what? We're in the same boat. I have heard many people who are older than me who have said, I lived through the 70s. Newsflash, this is worse. That is horrifying. That's really horrifying. So everything that I've heard from the 70s is that it was a goddamn nightmare day in and day out. So I really think that the move that they have to make is to allow John Mara to step away from making the decisions and allow him to solely focus on his health. And that's what anyone who's sick should do. Your health should be the number one priority over anything else. And when you're someone like John Mara and you have the financial means to do that and the family support, that's what you should be doing. Now, it doesn't mean he doesn't have to be involved, but the reality is if you fire the GM, it's a stressful process and it's a big process and a large undertaking to bring in a new GM. So this is what they need to do is they need to hire outside counsel, a consultant, someone who has had a lot of experience in football operations, scouting, developing players. I don't know all of those things, but you got to bring someone in who's going to say, this is the process. These are the types of candidates that you bring in for interviews. This is what you're looking for. If they do not have XYZ, that's a deal breaker and they're not coming in here. This is what you need to move this organization forward. You have the quarterback, you have the edge rusher, you have XYZ, blah, 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 blah. This is what you need to do next. And they can sit down with John Mara and they can go through this whole plan and they can say, you can be, I'll run everything by you before I make final decisions, but let me take the brunt of this and you focus on your health. That is what needs to be done, nothing else. And then John Mara can be involved, but the health should be his number one priority. And he should not be worried about whether or not he should fire the GM because it's too much stress on him. That should not even come into consideration. So I like John Mara. I think he's a great owner. I love that he goes out of his way to write back to every letter that he gets from fans. I love that he wants to win. I love that he tries. I want him to get healthy. That is the most important thing. Winning will come when you bring in people who know how to win. And unfortunately, right now, it's not the people who are leading this organization. So I want them to do that. And then, maybe 2026, we could go to the playoffs. I don't know. Anyway, that's it about the Giants. Let's go ahead and talk about, I want to do week 9 picks, who I think is going to win. And then we're going to talk about fantasy players. And then and then college players. I will not forget about that, but that will be quick. All right. Week 10, Thursday night football. We have Raiders at Broncos. And this podcast is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Let's talk about some odds for the Thursday night football game, Raiders versus Broncos. Now, the Broncos are big time favorites here, minus 500. The Raiders are plus 385 to win. J.K. Dobbins is the only favorite for an anytime touchdown, minus 125. And then Ashton Genty is plus 100. Now, this is Raiders versus Broncos odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Download the app today. Take advantage of some of the boosts and the no sweat parlays and the options that the app gives you. It's the best app out there to make any sports bets. Make sure to always bet responsibly. Call me crazy, guys. The Raiders actually played really well last week against the Jags and came this close to winning and forced overtime. I'm not sold on this Broncos team. Yes, they came back against the Giants. We're a bad football team. But since then, they have not been playing that well. They've kept a lot of games close. I just don't think that they have what they had last year. They're not looking like this team that was more of a powerhouse on both sides of the ball. Also, can we talk about the fact that Brian Burns is leading the NFL in sacks? He has 3 more sacks than Nick Bonito. who's the star edge rusher on the Broncos. Just saying. Call me crazy. I'm taking the Raiders. Next up, we have a Sunday morning football game. Love it. Falcons versus Colts in London. Obviously, we are taking Indiana Jones and the Colts here because they just got Sauce Gardner. How about the Jets, man? Wow, what a trade deadline for them. All I have to say is they better get those picks right, or that was all for naught. But anyway, Sauce Gardner's in concussion protocol, so I'm not sure whether or not he's going to play on Sunday. Obviously, I think he's going to do everything he can. But the Falcons are not it. So I'm taking the Colts. Next up, speaking of the Jets, we have the Browns versus the Jets, 1:00 on Sunday. I am taking the Browns here. I just think that with everything happening with the Jets, the fact that they traded away the best two players, the fact that they're 1-7 on the season, the fact that Aaron Glenn has a lot to learn throughout his NFL career, and they don't have a quarterback, a good one at that. I just don't think that they're going to be able to beat the Browns. I think that Myles Garrett, if you want another bet to take whatever the sacks is, I would probably take the over on, because I think that he is going to absolutely maul that quarterback. And what's even more insane, you guys, is the spread on FanDuel is 2.5 points. That's it. I mean, I know the Browns are bad, but this is the Jets we're talking about. Anyway, I'm taking the Browns. Next up, we've got Saints at Panthers. I'm taking the Panthers here. I feel so bad for Brian Burns that he went from a losing organization who is now finally winning to another losing organization that's still losing. So I'm taking the Panthers here. Bryce Young is back. The Saints started Tyler Shuck. I think that brought a little bit of a spark, but they also just traded away a couple of their wide receivers. So I am taking the Panthers here. Next up, we have the Pats versus the Bucks. This is going to be a good 1:00 matchup. There was an update today that said that Irving and who else? Here we go. Irving and Godwin were not spotted at practice today, so not sure whether or not they're going to play on Sunday, but there could still be a chance if they get one of them back. I'm still taking the Bucks here. I think Baker Mayfield has it. He's having an MVP type of season. Todd Bowles is incredible. I think this is a really good football team, and I think they're going to figure it out despite their injuries, but I do think that it could be very close. I think the Patriots are a very well-coached football team. Drake May has been unbelievable this season, but the fact that the Falcons only lost because of a missed extra point attempt is a little concerning to me, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to bounce back and dominate against an injured Bucks team. So I'm going with the Bucks here at home. Next up, Ravens at the Vikings. I think this is going to be a good matchup too. Lamar is back. We obviously have seen what that has done for that team. The Vikings have JJ McCarthy back. They win against the Lions last week, which was crazy. I'm still taking the Ravens here because I think that ultimately it could be close, but Lamar is just such a freak athlete that I don't think the Vikings defense, no matter how good Brian Flores is going to be able to slow down Lamar. And I think he's going to be able to make a lot of plays. He was getting Mark Andrews involved, who's been pretty quiet throughout this year. He had 2 touchdowns last week. He's got a lot of good receivers. They obviously have Derrick Henry. So I'm taking the Ravens. But like I said, I do think it could be close. Bills versus Dolphins. This is most certainly not going to be close because I can't understand why they're fired their GM in the middle of the season. Doesn't make any sense to me. If you're going to fire anyone, it should have been the coach. Like the GM, I don't think they did anything during the trade deadline. So anyway, I'm taking the Bills, and I don't think this is going to be close. Next up, we have the Jags Texans. I do think this one is going to be close, but this Jags team has been very bizarre this year, very hit or miss, but Trevor Lawrence is playing a little bit better football. Obviously, they lost Travis Hunter, but they bring in Jacoby Myers, and then they still have, Parker Washington, who has been pretty impressive over the last few weeks. So I'm going with the Jags here. Next, we have Cardinals at Seahawks at 4:05. I'm taking the Seahawks, but I do think that Jacoby Brissett has revitalized this team. I think he's shown what this offense is capable of doing. They have a lot of good football players. Marvin Harrison Jr., finally is getting the targets that he deserves. Trey McBride, Benson, who's their running back. They are definitely, I think, on the upswing here, but I think this Seahawks team is just unbelievable. They also just made a trade. Oh my God, who is it? Hold on, let me get the wide receiver. Raheed Shaheed is who they brought in, and I think he could be an impact right off the bat. You've got him and JSN. JSN's a freak. I am taking the Seahawks here. Next up, we have the Lions versus Commanders at 4:25. The Lions 100% bounce back. That poor injury. I am so upset for Jaden Daniels. That guy is, I love him so much. Like, he's so hard not to like and to root for as a player, and I think as a person. And I feel that way about Dak too. Like, I think they're just good people, even though they are division rivals. But for Jaden to go out like that, absolutely brutal, especially when you're down 20 points in the fourth quarter with only a few minutes left. And Dan Quinn apologized and he said, that is 100% on me. I don't know what I was thinking. And it sucks. It's too little too late. It's like the same thing with Shane Bowen and those bad play calls. Thank God our quarterback didn't get injured the way that he did get injured. But just brutal for Jaden Daniels. And I just don't think Mariota is going to help get this team to beat the Lions. Next up, Rams versus 49ers. This is going to be a good matchup. 425 division rivals here. The Niners are obviously coming off a good win against the Giants. They can finally run the ball again. But again, we are a 2-7 bad football. I am taking the Rams here. Matt Stafford has been unbelievable this year, especially after all the concerns that so many, myself included, had about his back. It's like, it's not even a problem. Devontae Adams, I mean, forget it. I'm taking the Rams here for sure. Next up, Steelers versus Chargers at 8:20 p.m. I do not believe in this Chargers team. They lost both of their tackles on the season, which sucks big time. They traded for Trevor Pennington, who's like, I don't think is going to step in and make that much of a difference. And as much as I dislike Aaron Rodgers and do not want him to succeed, I think that was a huge win over the Colts, even though it came down to the last minute towards the end. But I think the Steelers are going to win here. Next up, we have the Eagles versus the Packers. Micah Parsons, for fuck's sake, wake up, bro. I don't know what is going on with this Packers team. I was really excited about them early on in the year after they traded for him because I'm like, yes, we're going to have some better competition in the NFC that hopefully is going to get rid of the Eagles. Like, now is your time to do it. Please figure it out. They have been such a bizarre team this year. I cannot figure out what is happening over there. I know a lot of Packers fans are complaining about the screen calls on third down with LaFleur. I don't know, man. They have to figure it out and beat the Eagles. Like, please, for the sake of literally everyone else outside of the Chiefs fans, like, we're just begging you, please beat the Packers. And then the last game is the Giants versus the Bears, of course. And as much as I want to take my beloved Giants, because I'm a Giants fan and I will root for them and watch every game through and through, week in and week out, no matter how many wins and losses they have, I just can't see them beating the Bears. Kyle Monange went off, had an incredible week last week. Caleb Williams is figuring it out. He looks pretty good. They also have Ben Johnson, who's incredible, who's been creative and been fun in the play calling, which is something that we know nothing about. And I think getting Holland and what's his name, Flop back is going to help the secondary. I just Dable saying in his post game, like, we're going to figure it out and, we're going to be better. I'm just like, bro, it's week 10. You've been saying this shit for 3 fucking years. No, you're not going to get better. I'm so done with your bullshit. Like, it's enough. I'm done. It's over. Like, I'm watching because of Jackson Dart, because I have to. This is my job. But anyway, I don't think they're going to beat the Bears. I mean, I hope they can keep it close. I hope they win again for the sake of guys like Burns and Dart. You can tell the losing is getting to Dart. I don't think it's like fully seeped into him, but he's obviously very upset. He takes accountability for doing everything that he can, but still he takes accountability for the losing because unfortunately he's on this team and he's part of it. So anyway, I'm rooting for them to win, but they haven't really shown to me that they're a football team who can win games. So until then, I have to take the Bears. All right, let's move along to college football players real quick. I only have 3 of them. So I think one of the biggest games to watch right here is LSU versus Alabama on Sunday at 7:30 p.m. And that pains me as a Gamecocks fan, but I do think it's going to be a really good matchup. And I've got 2 players for you in that game. Number 1 is Jeremy Bernard, who is a wide receiver. I know everyone's excited about wide receivers. I talked about Carnell Tate last week from Ohio State. The guy's unbelievable. I'm obsessed with him. I really like Jeremiah Smith, but I don't think he's coming out yet. So Carnell Tate is one of the guys from Ohio State. Jeremy Bernard is the Alabama player. He's a senior. He redshirted at Michigan State before he transferred to Washington and then went to Alabama. He's 6'1", 204 pounds, and he is number 5. So Alabama, number 5 is the wide receiver you're looking for. I unfortunately am familiar with him because when the Gamecocks played Alabama, he was part of the reason why we got smoked. He had 5 receptions for 54 yards and a touchdown. Plus, they also used him in the in the run game. He had 3 carries for 23 yards and another touchdown. So 2 touchdowns against my beloved Gamecocks. His stats on the year, he has 38 receptions for 526 yards, 6 touchdowns, 15 rush attempts for 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So 8 touchdowns on the season. Very good football player. Some things about him and his skills. He has a rare, thick and strong frame, very good at playing through contact, which I know we all so desperately need. He's not much of a deep receiver yet, so he's better on the shorter intermediate routes. And he has great hands. One of the things that I wonder is, it doesn't sound like he's really a slot receiver, but I wonder if there's some versatility there, that if the Giants ended up drafting someone like him, if he could be a Wandale replacement, because he has the capability to play on the inside and the outside. He's bigger than a slot receiver, but has good hands, can make contested catches, better on the shorter and intermediate routes, things like that. So a question, I don't know. We'll see. Has great hands, does not have a lot of drops, and he is a fast decision maker with a good feel for tacklers. All very important. Next up, let's talk about a cornerback, because I know that's another position that if you're like me, you're like wide receiver, corner, linebacker. Those are the top three for me, and then it's offensive line, defensive line, and then some. So Mansour Delane is 6 feet, 190 pounds. He is on LSU. He is number 4. He is a senior. He transferred from Virginia Tech in 2025. So this is his first year with LSU, probably his last year in college. His stat line for the year, he has 33 tackles, 1 quarterback hit, 1 interception, and 7 pass deflections. The 7 PDs are as many as he had on the season in 2024. And we're just a little bit more than halfway, I guess, a lot more than halfway through the 2025 season. But anyway, he has been an incredible corner. He's very athletic, effective outside zone, has experience in press and off man. So versatility. Excellent footwork, very good at flipping his hips easily in transition, something that I think some of our corners do not have. Has good speed and good at reading the cornerback, and also has good tackling skills, also something that some of our corners do not have. So Mansour Delane, number 4 on LSU. And then lastly, I have Armaj Reed Adams. He is a guard on Texas A&M. He's a senior there. He redshirted at Kansas prior to that. He's 6'5", 325 pounds, and number 55. He's a team captain, 3-year starter, dominant run blocker with good nastiness. This is what we want to see out of our offensive linemen. I want to see our offensive line maul people to the ground, push them back, open up the pocket for Jackson Dart. Love this about him. He also is versatile. He's played left guard, right guard, and right tackle, has a very strong upper body with the ability to move defensive tackles backwards. Is this our guy or is this our guy? And his pass blocking has improved big time. Sounds like he's a much better run blocker than he is pass blocker, but the fact that he's improved over time is important. So again, this is Armaj Reed Adams. He is Texas A&M's guard, and he is number 55. So someone to watch for if you are watching college football this week. Lastly, we're going to round it out here with a couple fantasy players. I won my first game of the week last week. I am now 1-7 on the season, just like the Jets. Killing it, clearly. But you know what? It's not going to stop me from trying to switch up my lineup every week. So starting with a quarterback, I want to talk about Jackson Dart, not because I'm a Giants fan, but because, believe it or not, he is top 5 in fantasy stats as a quarterback since he's been starting, which is crazy. So if you need a good quarterback, I believe he has 6 rushing touchdowns in 6 games, right? And then also has, obviously been relatively productive outside of the Saints game. He does not have a lot of turnovers. So I think he could be a good option if you need a quarterback. And obviously he's not afraid to run. So you're going to have the rushing yards aspect of it too. Next up, let's talk about running backs. Speaking of the Jets and the Giants, let's talk about Isaiah Davis and also Breece Hall, who might still be available. Now, there was a lot of talk about him getting traded. He obviously did not, and he's not very happy about it, but I don't really think that's going to change anything. So I think he's going to be ready to go, but I think we could see a bit of a mix here. And I think that we'll see a bit of Isaiah Davis. So if he's still available, he's available in 14% of leagues. Go after him. Next up is Devin Singletary. And it pains me a little bit to say this, but I really thought that we were going to see a whole lot of Tracy last week, and we most certainly did not. So I think we're going to see a lot more Singletary again this week. So from a target share perspective, Singletary could be a good option. Also, if they're in the red zone, last year they used they used Singletary quite a bit. So he's also going to be one of those guys that is going to be used in the receiving game. He's had a couple decent catches over the last 2 games. So could be a good option. He's only available in 5% of leagues, which is wild, but I don't know. Might want to pick him up over Tracy if he's not available there. Next up, we already talked about him briefly. Parker Washington from the Jags. He had 8 receptions for 90 yards last week with Travis Hunter being out. Obviously, he's going to continue to do that. And now the Jags are also missing Brian Thomas Jr. Now, again, they traded for Jacoby Myers, but he's not going to step in and be the number 1 wide receiver. It's going to be Parker Washington who steps up here. So he's available in 18% of leagues. Definitely go after him. Next up, let's talk about Alec Pierce from the Colts. He's available in 27% of leagues. And even though he doesn't have a ton of touchdowns yet, he definitely has been used quite a bit throughout this offense. And now AD Mitchell is gone. So there's no question mark about whether or not, the snap share is going to change there much with Mitchell being active throughout the last couple of years. But I think Alec Pierce could be a good option. Lastly, let's talk about tight ends. Colston Loveland, game winner last week. Absolutely incredible against the Bengals. 6 receptions for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think this is just the beginning. As we know, the Giants are one of the worst teams in the NFL for years and years at covering the tight end. So if you need a tight end, I would go after Colston Loveland. I actually might see if I can pick him up, even though I have Kincaid. I don't know. Might not hurt to have 2. Anyway, and last up, I was looking at Yahoo Fantasy, and they have Theo Johnson on this list, who's available in 33% of leagues. And the thing with Theo Johnson is he's going to get the touchdown, but then he's also going to drop a couple other big passes. He is actually, I saw the stat from Dan Duggan. He is 5th, I think, in tight ends with his 4 drops that he has so far is top 5 in tight ends on the season. He's obviously had some really bad 3rd down drops, which have also stopped momentum and things like that. So to me, Theo Johnson is a little risky, but like I said, he's always going to be that red zone target for Jackson Dart. And he already has 4 touchdowns. If it might be 5 he has, I think 5 touchdowns over the last 6 weeks. So, if you need the touchdowns, he's probably a good option there. So anyway, I haven't decided who I'm going to pick up this week, but like I said, Colston Loveland is probably going to be at the top of my list. And I'm riding with Danny Dimes again. He's my quarterback. I think he's going to be able to pick it up this week. Oh no, I have to get a kicker because I have Aubrey and the Cowboys are on bye. So I got to work on that. But that's what I got for you guys this week. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to the pod for more. And I will be back later this week on Friday with a Giants Bears preview with a Bears content creator. So looking forward to that and hope you guys will tune in. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you Friday.